As we've been discussing, Mr. Trump gave more details about the future of his businesses once he takes office. A lawyer for Mr. Trump said he'll put his business operations in a trust controlled by his two oldest sons and a top business associate. Mr. Trump will also donate to the U.S. government any profits his hotels make from foreign governments, and the Trump Organization will refrain from entering new deals with foreign partners. But Mr. Trump will not divest himself of his business empire, and his advisors left a number of questions still unanswered. Bill Cohan is a special correspondent for Vanity Fair. He's written extensively about President-elect Trump, and he joins me now. All right, so Bill, Mr. Trump had been touting this press conference for weeks as a way in which he would explain the business plan here. How much did we actually learn?
Well, we learned that he's paid lawyers an awful lot of money, probably, to draft all sorts of new trust documents, some of which he had arrayed on a table behind him. It's not clear whether anyone in the public is ever going to get to see those documents, because that would be nice. That would be a first thing that would be very nice to see, is exactly what he's done, as opposed to just taking his and his lawyer's word for it. I would say we know nothing more than the fact that he and his legal team are quite convinced that they're under no obligation to do anything more than that they've done. He's under no obligation as President of the United States to divest himself of his business. He does not intend to do that. As his lawyer said at one point, he can't unknow that he owns Trump Tower. So I think that about sums it up.
Mr. Trump's lawyer, Sherry Dillon, said that if Mr. Trump divested, that he'd be entitled to royalties for the use of his name, creating further conflicts. Is there a point there?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, they do have a point that when you have a very large, although we don't know how large, and illiquid, although we don't know how illiquid, and diverse business, again, we don't know how diverse, it would be nice if we ever were to get some sort of business plan or projections or anything that gave us an indication of exactly how big his business is. He likes to talk about it in grandiose terms, and we know he values it, or his net worth, he values it at somewhere between $10 and $11 billion. We also know that he values his brand at around $3 billion. She spent a lot of time today talking about the value of that brand and how there was some risk if they just sold the businesses and the brand. The brand went with that business, that somebody could devalue it, could use it for nefarious purposes, could use it to manipulate the President of the United States. And I think that's probably a valid point. I mean, this is not an easy business to get your hands around, and he did that probably intentionally. And it's not an easy business to divest himself of. But if he were really serious about avoiding any potential conflicts, he would do just that, which, by the way, his cabinet appointees are going to have to do, and they have complicated businesses too. I assure you that Wilbur Ross and Steve Mnuchin and Rex Tillerson have complicated business arrangements too.
Well, the head of the nonpartisan Office of Government Ethics called Mr. Trump's conflict of interest plan, quote unquote, meaningless. But is there any real legal pressure here for Mr. Trump to go further?
Well, again, I'm not a lawyer. Certainly his attorney today made a very strong case, or at least that they believe that he has under no obligation to divest himself of his business, that anything he did today or has been doing in the last few weeks, anything represented in that big stack of documents is all out of the grace of his heart, the kindness of his soul. He doesn't have to do it. He's doing it because he wants to. He thinks it's the right thing to do, and he wants to spend his time focusing on being President of the United States, which is very kind of him, right? I think that, but nevertheless, his children, his two sons being the co-CEOs, along with a third executive, that is not nearly the same as putting his businesses or his assets into a blind trust, and that's just a fact. It's not a blind trust, and he's not going to be able to unknow that he owns the Trump Tower. It's just a fact. He's going to continue to have big influence on his children and the running of this business.
All right, Bill Cohan, thanks so much.
Thank you.